Hello one and all, and welcome to our today's webinar. My name is Andrew Kochanowski, I'm CTO at Kaa IoT, and I will be your speaker today. I must say that our team is super excited to get you introduced to the alpha version of our new Kaa IoT Cloud. We have been working hard the past few months to roll it out before Christmas, and so here we are. We'll spend the first few minutes to get everyone up to speed with the latest Kaa IoT Platform 1.1, and then dive into the live demo of the Kaa IoT Cloud. If you have any questions you would like us to answer, please post them in the Questions tab in the webinar sidebar, and we will get back to them at the end of the session. Alright, with this out of our way, we are ready to start. First, let's briefly look at how the Kaa IoT platform is built and what features it offers. Since the Kaa IoT Cloud is built on top of the Kaa IoT platform, these are also the features you'll be having when signed up for a free trial. All the functions in Kaa are implemented with portable microservices, and Kaa as a whole is based on a flexible microservice architecture. This means that you can separately customize each Kaa feature, add new ones, or replace any existing ones with some third-party tools. Out of the box, Kaa provides all the IoT features you may need for a typical IoT application, from data collection to device management and IoT dashboards. You can also take advantage of open APIs to integrate Kaa features to your own modules and applications. Let me quickly talk about a few more advantages of the Kaa IoT platform. Its modular architecture allows you to customize the set of functions for your different solutions, applications, and even application versions. Moreover, on the user interface side, you can create custom user dashboards and even change the look and feel to match your brand colors. Kaa uses a popular open IoT protocol MQTT, and application-level protocols of Kaa by default use widespread JSON encoding available in all programming languages. You can white-label the Kaa platform to build your own IoT solution under your own brand. There is also an embedded license available to enable you to redistribute Kaa features to your own customers. A few more on the technical side. Kaa supports any type of deployment: public, private, or hybrid cloud. Kaa also offers a variety of enterprise-grade capabilities such as elastic scalability, high availability, self-healing container orchestration, and multi-tenancy, which allows you to run multiple organizations on a single Kaa instance. Speaking of the progress we've made with Kaa for the past few months, let me introduce you to our latest Kaa release 1.1. It's been available since November the 8th, so we recommend that you go right for the latest version if you're new to Kaa. And if you are an experienced Kaa user, you should definitely consider an upgrade to take advantage of all the new features and improved user experience. The main highlight of this release was the implementation of the Kaa Tekton, a new infrastructure component for managing Kaa applications, versions, and the associated service configurations. Previously, with Kaa 1.0, you would manage all of these by editing service configuration files and restarting the Kaa services to apply the new configs. The Kaa web dashboard in Kaa 1.1 now provides a convenient management UI, and any configuration changes get applied to the affected services immediately. All services are, though, backward compatible with the old way of application configuration management, so you can easily migrate your Kaa 1.0 installations to 1.1. We have also prepared a small conversion script you can use to transform your Kaa 1.0 configs to configuration you can bulk load into Tekton once you have completed the upgrade. You can find it in the release notes in the Kaa docs. In this release, we also introduced UI theme customization for Kaa web dashboard. You can pick your own color palette for text and different UI elements, for example, to match your brand style. We also improved the default content of the web dashboard by adding the default device management and software management pages. There are also many other usability changes here and there, and even more in the works right now. There are many other smaller changes introduced in Kaa 1.1. Let's touch base on some of the highlights. First, the command execution extension now supports synchronous and asynchronous REST API calls for command invocation. When invoking a command on a remote device, you can specify the maximum desired time to wait for a response. If there is no response from the device within the specified timeout, command execution extension creates a command result resource that you can use to retrieve the result at a later time. Secondly, in Kaa 1.0, your endpoints would receive configuration updates and command pushes on connect and whenever updates were available. In Kaa 1.1, we introduced a more granular control over the delivery of such updates driven by the client. When retrieving new configuration and commands on connect, the client now may explicitly specify the observed flag set to false. This will disable further asynchronous pushes and allow the client to request new configuration and commands at the desired time. Next, EPTS, which is the endpoint time series service, now supports not only retrieving but also storing time series data via the RESTful API. Then, in some gateway-based deployments, it is possible for a single terminal device or Kaa endpoint to be represented by several gateways. Starting with 1.1, whenever a switch happens from one gateway to another, KPC service is now able to gracefully hand off endpoint connection to a service replica that handles that client connection. Last but not the least, we have restructured the Kaa platform documentation so that you can access all of it from a single sidebar menu in our docs site. You can find a full list of changes to Kaa 1.1 in our documentation site. Now, let's see how you can try out the Kaa IoT platform. We offer two trial options. Both are free and powered by the latest Kaa 1.1. The first one is the alpha version of the Kaa IoT Cloud, which is a platform as a service hosted by us and which you can use for an unlimited amount of time to manage up to 5 devices per account. Another option is a Kaa private hosted instance, which is more targeted for enterprise-grade evaluation. You can set up as many devices as you want, control the hosting infrastructure, and even deploy your own microservices. We offer a free trial in a dedicated hosted instance for up to 30 days. With the Kaa Cloud, you can start your evaluation immediately. It's easy to use and enables you to create an end-to-end IoT solution in a single visual UI. In fact, if you don't require a private deployment or a lot of devices, you may continue staying on the Kaa Cloud for as long as you need. In the future, we plan to offer more cloud subscription plans that will allow you to expand past the 5 devices you can connect for free today. And if you do need a privately hosted Kaa platform and you're happy with what you've seen in the Kaa Cloud, then you can go for the private hosted trial option. This is also a good option for companies who wish to white label Kaa for their own IoT solution or redistribute its functionality to their customers. Now, let's take a look at how you can use the Kaa Cloud for your project. For demonstration, we have prepared the Raspberry Pi with 2 sensors connected. BME 280, which tracks temperature, humidity, and barometric pressure, and Sensare S8, which tracks carbon dioxide, or simply CO2 level in the air. We will proceed with creating a simple climate station application on the Kaa Cloud. We will make all the webinar materials available for download so you can repeat these steps in your own cloud account. Go to kaaproject.org, click the Get Free Trial button, and then use Go to Cloud button and follow the registration procedure. You will have to sign up for Kaa ID and activate your cloud account. To save us a bit of time, I already have a clean Kaa Cloud account to use for this demo. So once you log in, you will see your default Kaa Cloud solution. A solution is a concept in Kaa that encompasses one or more device types, or in Kaa terms applications, and provides users with a certain service. For example, a home security solution may work with cameras, smoke, water, and gas sensors and provide users a centralized dashboard for interacting with all of them. In the free tier of Kaa Cloud Alpha, a solution is limited to just one application. Let's take a look at that application. This page shows your default dashboards. We'll get back here shortly. Click on your user pick here and select the administration. So this is your default application. Notice the line below here. This is called an application name. You will encounter it in the API calls to Kaa services. Let's now give this application a nicer display name. Let's use climate stations. Let us now expand this and see what's in this application. Kaa platform is based on multiple small microservices. What you see here is a list of Kaa service instances running in the Kaa Cloud cluster. Most of these, except for EPTS, require no application-specific configuration, so they are grayed out. Now, if you click here, you'll see a list of application versions in your application. The concept of application versioning in Kaa allows you to build new versions of your connected device software or firmware with new functionality while retaining server compatibility with all historical versions. We have created a default application version for you. Let's call this version Climate Station V1. The line here is a so-called application version name. All of your connected devices or endpoints are registered in the Kaa platform with a certain application version. This allows Kaa to understand their capabilities and communicate in a compatible fashion. Let's copy this line and put it someplace safe. We'll need it to connect our Raspberry Pi later. Now let's go back to the dashboards and open the predefined device management dashboard. There are no devices here yet, so let's register one. This is the application version your device will be registered with. You can also punch in a desired endpoint token that the device will authenticate with. If you leave this field empty, Kaa will auto-generate a token for you. Now, it is important that you copy the endpoint token at this step, since for security reasons Kaa only stores an irreversible hash and the token will not be available anymore. You can notice that the new device is already here. It's offline for now, since we haven't connected with this token. If you click here, you will notice that the token is listed as inactive. And let us proceed with connecting a Raspberry Pi. Here we have MQTT client code that is already loaded to the Raspberry Pi. Let me open it. All it does is basically just connects to the Kaa Cloud and uploads some climate data from its sensors. Let's take a look at the data sample structure. So this is the payload here. And you can see that this is a plain JSON with several fields like timestamp, temperature, humidity, pressure, and the level of CO2. All of these values are taken from, well, most of these values are taken from the sensors that are connected to our Raspberry Pi. You'll find all the source code in the webinar materials after the webinar. Now, to run this script, we will have to provide the previously copied application version name and the endpoint token. So let's do this. I'll copy the application version name and also the token. So we're ready to run, and let's do this. You can see that the Raspberry Pi has successfully connected to the platform and is sending data now. So let's go back to the Kaa UI. You can see here that the token has changed its state to active. That means that the device has used it at least once to connect. And you also can see that some extra device metadata has appeared. Notice here the latitude and longitude attributes. We will use them later for the device map. Also, you can see here that some telemetry is actually already being collected. This is humidity and temperature time series. So the platform comes pre-configured with these two default time series. But we are actually sending more time series data. So let's go back to the administration and configure the endpoint time series service to recognize the remaining time series. So I'll go back to the climate stations application, click on the endpoint time series service configuration, and you can see here the default time series that are pre-configured in your cloud account. These include battery level, humidity, and temperature. You can always just delete them if you don't want them. but we will actually be adding a few more. So we want to also collect CO2 level, and the CO2, as you may remember from the JSON that I showed to you, is sent in the CO2 JSON property. So the type is number, so we're good to go here. The remaining one is pressure, so let's also add pressure, and there is only one value, and in the JSON it's also pressure, and it's also a number. Alright, so now we have 2 extra time series. Let's hit save. And the configuration has been saved and already applied, and it's already delivered to the endpoint time series service and must be applied by it. So let's check this. Let's go back to the device management page and take a look at our device. And here you can see that a couple extra time series have appeared. That's CO2 and also pressure that we just added. And there is one data point per each that is already collected by the platform since we rolled out the configuration. All right, so let us now create a couple extra dashboards to make the view a little bit prettier. To do this, let's toggle on the edit mode and add a dashboard. So the first dashboard that I'm going to create, we'll call it climate stations. Let's choose a URL for it. Let's say climate stations. All right, we don't need a description, and let's just use climate stations as the title in the sidebar. All right, so this is our first custom dashboard, and let's add a widget here. As I promised previously, we will show the location of our weather stations on the map. So let's add a map widget. And I also need to configure it. So in the configuration, let's use the header just location or locations. The service instance that we are going to take location from is going to be EPR, that's endpoint register, since you remember that we have metadata fields that are attributed to our endpoint and they are stored in EPR. The application is the one that we are using here. And let's select the latitude field, so that's metadata latitude, and the longitude, well, is in longitude. All right, so that should do it. Let's hit save. All right, so you can see here that we have our first endpoint that is already connected, displayed here on the map. Let me make it a little bigger for you. Oops, okay. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna create another dashboard, because we also want to see what's happening with that specific climate station, right? So I'll create a nested dashboard, and let's call it climate station, and let us nest it under climate stations, and use the endpoint ID so that the dashboard knows which endpoint to display the data for. We don't need a description, and this time we don't need it in the sidebar because it will be nested under this dashboard. So let me hit save here. So this created a new custom dashboard that is empty for now. What I'm gonna do next is, actually we want these two dashboards to be linked together so that I can have some navigation between them. So let me go back to my first dashboard, climate stations, and reconfigure this map widget a little bit to redirect to the newly created dashboard, and it's this one. It's gonna pass the endpoint ID of the selected device to this new dashboard so that the second dashboard knows which one to display data for. All right, now we have a link here which says device details. If I click here, that navigates me to my second dashboard. So let's do this. I'm gonna add a couple more widgets here. So let's add a chart to display our humidity and temperature data. And let me configure it. So let's just call this climate. So we are going to be getting data from the time series service. This is our application, and let's configure data sources. So we have several time series already configured on APTS, and I want to display in this chart, let's say temperature. And the values, there is only one value, a part of the timestamp, and that's also temperature. Let's label it temperature in the legend. And then let's also add another time series for humidity. All right, so there is also only one value here, which is humidity. I'm gonna use humidity as a label in the legend. And I think we should be good to go. Let's save this. All right, so you can see here that some data is already available. Let me zoom this in a little bit. So this is our humidity data and temperature data that is being collected from the Raspberry Pi. But where is CO2 and where is pressure, right? So let's add a couple more widgets for that. Let me use a gauge for this. Let's use a vertical gauge, it looks nice. I'll put it here. Let's actually make this a little bigger. And we need to configure this gauge as well. So let's use CO2 as the header. We're going to be taking data from APTS, the same application. Time series is going to be CO2. You know what, this is actually particles per million, so let me just add it here. And the time series field is also called CO2. And well, let's also configure the boundaries, right? So let's say we want to measure between 1200 and 600. Critically high, well, let's use 1150. Warning at 1100. The lower boundary, well, we don't really need this, so I'll just use 600. And scale step, let's use 100. All right, that should do it. Okay, so we are now at 768 ppm of CO2. That's actually pretty good. So the remaining widget that we wanted to add, well, let me also use a vertical gauge for the barometric pressure. I'll also resize it here. Pressure. We're going to take data from APTS, the same application. The time series is actually pressure this time, and the field to display is pressure. Let's also configure the ranges to display the data. Well, we should be around 1000 right now, but let me expand these ranges a little bit. So critically high, well, let's use 1150 as well, 1100 here. Critically low, warning low is, let's use 900 and 850 for critical. And the scale step, well, let's use 100. All right, yeah, so we are actually not far away from 1000 barometric pressure. Okay, let me resize this a little bit to make it a little prettier. Where did it go? Okay. So the remaining thing is, now I have configured the dashboards, but they are only visible to me, and they are only present in my session on the web dashboard. To make these changes available to all logged in users, you have to publish your changes. So let's hit save here. And you can see a small pop-up coming right here at the bottom. That's an indication of the fact that somebody has changed configuration, including me. And if we follow this prompt and reload the page, you will see that the dashboards should still be visible. All right. So here we go. Let us quickly review what we have done in this webinar. So we have reviewed the administration page. We looked at the application and the application versions. We looked at the microservices in our cluster. We have connected the Raspberry Pi. It's still sending data right here. We are uploading data in real time. We also have created a couple of dashboards. Oops, it's this one. So we have created a couple of dashboards, and we also linked the navigation between them. Now, we encourage you to register your own free Kaa Cloud account and start hacking. If you run into any issues or have any questions while you use the Kaa Cloud, feel free to ping us at the Kaa IoT Gitter channel, and we will help you out as soon as possible. Now, before we finish, there is one more thing I'd like to mention. Our recently launched Kaa IoT Gateway. If you're looking for an open and highly customizable hardware for your next IoT project, the Kaa Gateway could fit the bill nicely. It has cool modular design and supports the most popular connectivity options out of the box, such as Bluetooth, Zigbee, LoRa, and so on. You can choose specific connectivity modules that you need and simply plug them into the gateway. Of course, it's fully pre-integrated with the Kaa IoT platform and features enterprise-grade configuration, monitoring, and software management. It also comes with our vendor support package. Come talk to us to learn more about the gateway. Now, this is all we wanted to cover in today's webinar, and now it's time for me to answer your questions. Please give me a moment to look at those you already submitted, and please feel free to ask more now.